Tyson Fury beats Deontay Wilder for what most view as the third time. So when you go into a trilogy, even though yesterday we were very hyped, we were all jumping up and down, it was very competitive for the first half of the fight, that was the only time in Deontay Wilder facing Tyson Fury where he was competitive against him. In fight one, he fought out-of-shape Fury, who won basically 10 rounds. I know Wilder dropped him twice. The first one really was more to do with fatigue. The second one was a real knockdown, but Fury got up. And the second time they fought, Wilder literally got the living you-know-what beat out of him. And the third time they fought, Wilder started good, won rounds one, won round two in my opinion, got dropped badly in round three, got up to drop Fury twice in round four, but then after round four, he was getting whooped in every single second of the fight. So when you go into a trilogy and say it was competitive, they boxed a total of 18 plus 30 rounds. Wilder won 5, while Fury won 25. What trilogy ever in boxing history that's considered competitive is scored 25-5? Wilder dropped 5 times actually, and Fury dropped 4 times. Yes, the knockdowns were close, but the rounds were not. The first fight was a wash for Fury. I had him winning 116-110. Second fight, Fury stopped him while up 6-0. Second time, Fury stopped him, knocked him out cold brutally while he was up 7-3. So if that was the most competitive performance Deontay Wilder could give, and Tyson Fury, I was watching the fight, as I said yesterday, with my family. Tyson Fury, that was the worst training camp ever, and I pointed that out to my family. This guy hasn't trained since they delayed the fight. He got the virus that shut down the world for 2 years now. He also had to travel back to the UK mid-training camp because his daughter was born prematurely. Spent nearly a month there, came back. The fight was only 2-3 weeks out. He barely trained. Did not want this fight. Was forced into fighting this fight. Was supposed to fight Anthony Joshua for $100 million. Instead, he beat Deontay Wilder for $30 million. It's crazy what just happened. Very crazy. Tyson Fury lost so much money because of Deontay Wilder. And I don't know why Deontay Wilder wanted to take this route. Look, I credit the man. He wanted the chance to go out on his shield, which Mark Breland, I know a lot of people are giving him praise. Mark Breland robbed Deontay Wilder of going out on his shield the first time. But because of Mark Breland, Deontay Wilder wanted to fight him again. Deontay Wilder, all he ever wanted was to get knocked out cold. If I can't beat Fury, let him knock me out. Now he takes another hellacious beating from Fury. So that's back-to-back hellacious beatings from Fury. He hasn't won a fight since November of 2019, and we're in October of 2021, and he's turning 36 years old later this month, just a few days from now. Will he come back? I don't think he can beat a Robert Helenius at this point from how much damage he's taking. Robert Helenius is no shabby fighter. I have not done my rankings, but believe me, he's in my top 10. After he literally ended Adam Kanaki's career. So after saying all that, I want to do a quick preview, because I will do a full preview of Deontay Wilder's career. I'm not going to go through every single bum he knocked out. I'm not going to do that. We're going to do a quick preview of Deontay Wilder's career and cover the rise and fall of Deontay Wilder, the Bronze Bomber, the 2008 Olympic bronze medalist. He turned pro at the age of 23. He fought a bunch of bums all over the world until he got a record of what's it called? Let's get, when was his first notable fight? I guess you could say his first notable fight was against Owen Beck, former contender. Well, no, I want to say that because Beck was much past prime. I could say his first notable fight was in December 12 of 2000. December 15th, 2012, against Calvin Price. Deontay Wilder at this point had a impressive record of 25 wins, no losses, 25 knockouts. He was 27 years old. He fought the first guy his size, who was also 6'7", with an 82.5-inch reach, who had 13 wins, no losses, and 6 knockouts. So they're both undefeated fighters. Clearly, Wilder had more experience. The first round started. It seems like Calvin Price was outboxing Wilder. Then in round 3, Wilder knocks Price the hell out. After that, he knocks out a bum named Matthew Greer. Then he fights 2000 gold medalist Udley Harrison, who had 3 comeback wins ever since being stopped by David Price in the first round. And he stopped David Price in the first round as well. Then he fights former WBO heavyweight champion, who has been knocked out several times at this point of his career and was nothing more than a journeyman, Serhij Lahovic. He knocks out Serhij Lahovic in the first round. Then he knocks out a bum named Nikola Furtha in 4 rounds. Then he fights in March of 2014 his current trainer, Malik Scott, who he questionably and controversially knocked down the first round. I can't post that fight because Showtime will copyright the video, but that punch was so soft. I don't know how it knocked out Malik Scott, but it did. And if you watch the video, watch it in slow motion. It looks like Malik Scott, when he got knocked down, he winked at Deontay Wilder, saying, "Yeah, good job, bro. Job well done." Because after he beat Malik Scott, he was credited as the mandatory challenger for, at the time, the vacant WBC title. 2 months later, Bermern Stiverne and Chris Arreola were going to fight for the second time for the vacant title. Stiverne beat the living you-know-what out of Arreola in 6 rounds and knocked him out cold. He then fought between facing Stiverne. He fought a bum named Jason Gaverne, who he stopped in 4 rounds. Then he fought Bermern Stiverne. He went into the fight with a record of 32 wins, undefeated of course, with 32 knockouts. Bermern Stiverne was 24-1-1 with 21 knockouts. His only loss coming into the hands of Demetrius King, a journeyman who stopped him. But if you go rest, the fight was a very premature stoppage. I had no idea why they stopped the fight. But nevertheless, he had 1 loss on his record. He boxed beautiful against Bermern Stiverne. I thought he won every single round. He should have been credited with 2 knockdowns in round 2 and round 7. But he didn't. He did not drop him officially once. But he won every round. He showed great skill, great back foot game. And that started the reign of the Bronze Bomber, Deontay Wilder. That was the rise of the Bronze Bomber. He then fought in his first title defense. He wanted to take it back to Alabama in Birmingham, because he's from Alabama. He fought the Mexican-American contender, Eric Molina. Well, you shouldn't really say contender about Eric Molina. Eric Molina at that point had a record of 23 wins, 2 losses, and 17 knockouts, I believe. It does not say here on BoxRec, but I believe that's what happened. And at the time, what was his best win? I don't know. He was coming off beating Rafael Zambono. He got knocked out by Chris Arreola in 1 round. And ever since being stopped by Chris Arreola in 1 round, he did not fight anyone notable. And he also got stopped in the first round by a guy named Ashantai Jordan in his pro debut. So he's been already stopped twice before in the first round. The fight started. Deontay Wilder did not look good whatsoever. And round 3, I believe. Was it round 3? It's been a while since I watched the fight. He hurt Wilder badly. If Molina had any type of finishing skills, he would have knocked out Wilder in that 3rd round. That was the first sign of Wilder's chin. Really, I don't think Wilder has a bad chin. I just think his legs are so weak. I don't know what to say. I just think his legs are so weak. Then Deontay Wilder, after surviving the 3rd round scare against Eric Molina, drops Eric Molina twice in round 4, and then twice again in round 5, and knocks him out cold in round 9. After that, he fights, at the time, unknown French contender. Well, he became known after that for knocking out Robert Helenius, but at the time he was unknown, Johan Duhopis, who coming into Deontay Wilder won a decision over Manuel Char. He just lost against Archon Taper. So he's coming off, and he was competitive against Taper. I remember watching that fight. So he was coming off 2 decent performances. Not really enough to warrant a title shot, in my opinion, but whatever. He goes in face first. He tucks in his chin, Johan Duhopus. If you want to watch a really exciting fight, go rewatch Deontay Wilder versus Johan Duhopus. Johan Duhopus tucks in his chin and goes forward at Wilder and just batters Wilder, and Wilder's training with him. And Wilder was winning the rounds, but he gave Wilder hell in those rounds. Hell. Wilder just stopped him round 11. I think Johan Duhopus could have finished the fight. Johan Duhopus was never dropped in that fight. And then Deontay Wilder faces Polish French contender, because I cannot say contender about this guy, Artur Szpilka. Artur Szpilka was supposed to be an easy outing for Deontay Wilder. This was the first sign of Deontay Wilder's weaknesses. This is still his rise, Deontay Wilder. Don't get me wrong. This is not a Deontay Wilder bashing video. Nope. I picked Deontay Wilder to beat Tyson Fury. The first 2 times I picked Fury. The 3rd time I picked Wilder. I just thought Wilder would be too good for Fury. I was wrong. But against Artur Szpilka, Wilder was being outboxed and outbeat. And if you ever want to, Artur Szpilka, if you guys haven't seen him fight before, I'm going to give you a rough example of him, a good comparison for him. He's basically a homeless man version of Alexander Usyk. He's not as good as Usyk at all, but he moves, he's a southpaw, and he has decent power. He doesn't have the chin of Usyk, nor does he have the defense of Usyk, but I mean offensively, he's the homeless man version of Usyk. And I always said, a lot of people are saying Wilder would KO Usyk. This was back when Usyk was a cruiserweight. I said, go rewatch the Szpilka fight and tell me Wilder KOs Usyk. And boy, that fight was, I know the judges had it. 2 judges had Wilder up 6-2. 1 judge had Wilder up 5-3. Well, go rewatch that fight. It's hard to give Wilder a round before he knocked out Szpilka. Then Wilder was scheduled to fight his mandatory opponent, Alexander Povetkin. They were scheduled to fight on May 21 in Russia. Povetkin was a slight favorite at the time, even though he was a challenger. And I was one of the few people, everyone was picking Povetkin at that time, I was one of the few people that said Wilder's going to pull off the same performance he pulled off against Stavern and beat Povetkin. While Wilder was training to fight Povetkin, Anthony Joshua picks up the IBF title and knocks out Charles Martin in 2 rounds. Joshua so far has been looked a much more polished fighter between him and Wilder. The only advantage Wilder had over Joshua was his power, and at that time people did view Joshua having 1-punch knockout power because he knocked out Dillian Whyte with a single punch and dropped Martin twice with a single punch, not a combination. So at that time, Joshua was viewed to be as a big power puncher, especially after he was the first one to stop Kevin Johnson, which really should have been stopped in the first round, but the referee let it go on too long. He stopped Johnson in round 2. So while going into that fight, Alexander Povetkin pops dirty for a drug test. So Chris Arreola jumps in as their replacement opponent. Chris Arreola at the time was coming off 4 losses in a row, I believe. And Deontay Wilder easily beats Chris Arreola. Arreola gets dropped in round 4. Deontay Wilder did break his hand in that fight, but he drops Chris Arreola in round 4. And Chris Arreola quits after 8. Not the first time he quits. He quit against Vitaly Klitschko as well. Then Deontay Wilder, in a fight I thought he would lose, he fought Gerald Washington. I know many people go like, what are you talking about, man? Gerald Washington's a bum. Now he's viewed a bum. Back then he was viewed as a high-rising prospect. A lot of people had hopes behind him. But I said Gerald Washington would either beat Wilder or would be leading, winning every round before he gets knocked out. And that's what happened. Wilder did knock out Washington in round 5, but in the first 4 rounds, Washington beautifully outboxed Wilder. Beautifully. And it's a shame that he got caught and knocked out. And I thought the referee stopped that fight prematurely, but Washington did not complain, so I should not complain. Following that fight, Bermern Stavern shockingly gets called as his mandatory opponent. And I predicted this Stavern this time around would get knocked out, and that's what happened. Stavern gets absolutely blown away in one round, won a knockout of the year contender. And then Deontay Wilder faces his toughest opponent to date, Luis King Kong Ortiz. I knew that Wilder would beat Ortiz. Actually, I was shocked at how competitive Ortiz was, because I just thought Ortiz didn't have the head movement enough to beat Wilder. Like, I think Frank Sanchez would have a better chance against Wilder than Ortiz, in my opinion. Ortiz went in there, was very competitive with Wilder, was winning the fight until he got caught in round 5 and dropped. Then Wilder won round 6, I believe. But then round 7, was it round 7 or round 8, where Ortiz hurts Wilder badly. Wilder barely makes out. If it was the other way around, they would have stopped the fight. Wilder barely makes out of the round. Controversially, the referee, beginning of round 8, gives Wilder basically an extra minute break just to check Wilder out. Round 8 and 9 were both going to Ortiz, but Ortiz was fatiguing bad. Then he catches Ortiz in round 10, drops him, then knocks him out cold with a right uppercut. Then a shocking fight, a fight out of nowhere, was announced. Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. Tyson Fury has been out of the ring for a couple years now. He just had a couple tune-ups, and he wants to jump in the ring with Deontay Wilder. At the time, Deontay Wilder was a huge favorite. I believe it was a 4-1 favorite. I said, I think Wilder is going to win, but it's going to be a very, very hard fight. Wilder would be getting outboxed badly by the time he wins. Wilder will at times look like a fool. And he exceeded my expectations, Tyson Fury, and in my eyes, beat Deontay Wilder 10 rounds to 2. Even though he got dropped twice, I thought he clearly won the fight 116-110. One judge gave it to Wilder 115-111, shockingly. One judge had it 113-113, a draw, and one judge had it 114-112, Fury. Then he gets a mandatory opponent, Dominic Breazeale. I don't know how Dominic Breazeale got the mandatory shot, and he knocks out Dominic Breazeale cold in one round. He rematches Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz was, in my opinion, winning the fight. Two judges had Luis Ortiz winning 5-1. One judge had him winning 4-2. I had it 4-2 as well. And then he knocks out Luis Ortiz in round 7 after Luis Ortiz was caught on the ropes. Then he rematches Tyson Fury. I knew Fury was going to knock him out. I predicted it, but I thought he would win round 11. He just stopped he stopped Wilder round 11. Nope, I was wrong. He stopped Wilder round 7. He exceeded my expectations. Even though I predicted he would beat Wilder by knockout, I did not think that dominantly. No way. Then he forces the rematch clause. I don't know why. I have no clue. That fight was all wrong for him. Clearly, Fury had his number. Even though I predicted Wilder would win, Fury had his number. He should have went another route. He should have went on the fighter Charles Martin. Take a Gerald Washington rematch. Who cares? Fight a Adam Kawanaki. Fight a Robert Helenius. Be on the PBC guys for a minute. Fight in a super fight, really, in the United States between him and Andy Ruiz. Then go back and try to fight a Fury or a Joshua or Usyk or even a Joe Joyce. But what he did, he went right away with Fury. Even though he was much more competitive this time around, Fury still knocked him out. And now look at his career. His last 5 fights has been 2-2-1, which really is 2-3. He's been knocked out twice in a row. He hasn't won a fight in 2 years now. By next time he fights, it needs to be probably 3 years he hasn't won a fight. He's taken back-to-back beatings. I think we just saw the fall of Deontay Wilder. He's going to be 36 years old in a couple days now. I don't see how he can come back from this. Maybe he can pull off a George Foreman, just knock out bums for a decade, and then knock out some little guy when he's like 45. Maybe he can do that, because I don't think he should be dropped in the deep end anymore. Should he fight? What would be a fight for him? Maybe if Anthony Joshua loses, him and Anthony Joshua can fight. Yeah, he could win that fight. Because I also think Anthony Joshua is now also in the tail end of his career. Because he's taken way too many beatings. Way too many beatings, Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua took a beating against Usyk, against Klitschko, against Ruiz, against White. He's taken too many beatings. But Deontay Wilder took 2 beatings that usually fighters don't take. Anthony Joshua took one type of this beating against Ruiz. He's taken semi-beatings against Klitschko, a semi-beating against Usyk, a hard fight against Povetkin and White, but never back-to-back like this. Like, Anthony Joshua did have his Ruiz moment, but Wilder just had two Ruiz moments. Two Ruiz-type beatings. So I just think we saw the end of Wilder. And if Joshua gets his ass whooped again against Usyk and badly this time around, we might have seen the end of Joshua as well. And I'd make a similar video for Joshua, the rise and fall of Anthony Joshua. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And Sadiq Boxing out.